These are probably the most controversial images we will ever see, and also the most contradictory, especially since it's about a funeral. Honestly, I still don't know how to process this. So beforehand, I'm asking for your help to decipher the message that could be behind all of this. It turns out that just a few hours ago, the funeral for Charlie Kirk was held, which really, more than a funeral, it seemed like an extremely pompous staging, at times absolutely absurd and media-driven. To the extreme, his wife forgiving the murderer, Tucker Carlson, leaving a series of questions and assumptions that, in fact, were already being discussed on social media, which, apparently, cast a shadow over the Jewish state in terms of responsibility for the death of Charlie Kirk. Donald Trump meeting with Elon Musk, a meeting that has been highly anticipated for some time. And finally, Donald Trump has announced what the United States is going to reveal tomorrow. Anyway, let's go straight to the footage, which, I repeat, seems to have left more questions than answers. One of the most talked about things right now on social media is, without a doubt, the words and the speech that Tucker Carlson gave at the event. One of the leading figures of the right-wing media said exactly this, referring to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, in some way comparing Charlie to Jesus Christ. However, this reveals an extremely dangerous theory that could be behind it.
And that, in fact, reminds me of my favorite story of all. So, about 2,000 years ago in Jerusalem, and Jesus appears and starts talking about the people in power. And he starts doing the worst thing you can do, which is telling the truth about people, and they hate him and go crazy. They hate him and become obsessed with making him stop. He needs to stop talking.
We have to shut this guy up. And I can imagine the scene in a lamplit room with a group of guys sitting around eating hummus thinking, what do we do about this guy who's telling the truth about us? We have to make him stop talking. And there's always one guy with a bright idea, and I can hear him saying, I've got an idea. Why don't we? We just kill him? That'll silence him and fix the problem.
Anyone would say this is just an example, just a way of speaking. However, there are already countless theories on social media claiming that those responsible are directly in the state of Israel. This, moreover, is happening against the backdrop of what Israel is carrying out in Palestine. And its main argument is based on the latest statements by Charlie Kirk, where he said that October 7 could actually be a false flag attack, and that, more or less, Israel itself could have provoked everything that is happening today in the Gaza Strip. But it doesn't stop there. I mean, Tucker Carlson, with an absolutely astonishing attitude about all this, at a funeral. You tell me if that's appropriate or not. Then we have the intervention of Charlie Kirk's wife. Could it really be that she pulled herself together with a lot of effort? Or could it be? Some people have been pointing out on social media that she might be playing some kind of role.
When it ended, I saw him backstage and spoke to him, and I'll never forget it. I said, Charlie, darling, please tell me before you say that. And he called him over to his side. Revealed to me a great mercy of God in this tragedy, fighting for the gospel, for the truth, in front of a great crowd. And then he blinked, and
he saw
his Savior in paradise.
I mean, here literally everything matters. How he looked, how he spoke, and the final piece. That forgiveness he announces live, for which some say it's still too soon. My God.
I forgive him.
It's not my intention, at any moment, of course, to get involved, much less to judge anyone. However, since this is a state event and it's about the United States, which is one of the most important countries on the international stage. As of today, I think this certainly needs to be analyzed. There's simply a series of events that are not staged at all. Or rather, it's a message about what is still to come, about what has already happened. I mean, on one hand, there are theories about who could be behind the death of Charlie Kirk. And in this sense, in fact, on this very channel, we already analyzed a whole series of coincidences that really couldn't be just coincidences, could they? Here's the video in question. But, on the other hand, there's also the fact that this staging is taken advantage of, right? Apparently, also for political purposes, because it's not just a coincidence that Elon Musk and Donald Trump meet. But Donald Trump announces something that, as I understand it, will mark a turning point in the medical field in the United States. Could it be that in the whole world, a possible cure for autism?
Tomorrow, we're to have one of the biggest announcements, really medically, I think, in the history of our country. We're going to be doing it with Bobby and Oz and all of the professionals. I think you're going to find it to be amazing. We've found an answer to autism. How about that, autism, tomorrow? We'll discuss autism in the global office at the White House.
On one hand, I find it strange that he chose this funeral to announce it. On the other hand, maybe it's meant to reinforce the message that Charlie Kirk is like some kind of savior, now even divine. And there are already some rumors that what Donald Trump's government might announce is, in fact, not the cure itself, but rather the opposite, that a medication, which is basically the American version of acetaminophen, could lead to autism if taken by pregnant women. Again, this is only a rumor. And we'll see tomorrow what that announcement is that Donald Trump has been emphasizing so much, even at a funeral. However, if I had to highlight something in particular here, I would say that two main things personally catch my attention. The first is that now the death of Charlie Kirk is being announced. Elon Musk actually said it at the event, like a kind of battle between good and evil, where the good are the Republicans and the evil are the Democrats. I think this is just another way to deceive the voters. Because even though I really do think the whole world is actually witnessing that battle, I believe it's being played out on a very different level, a bigger, broader, and therefore more important process. But what is most surprising is that speaking in terms of good versus evil, such a spectacle is being staged, while it is being carried out in Palestine. All of this is supported and approved by the United States, because the story itself has already been condemned, and there's another video about it as well. Donald Trump himself gave Netanyahu a sort of carte blanche to do whatever was necessary, as long as it was as quick as possible. The support of the United States for Israel in the Gaza Strip is absolutely undeniable. And this is something like the comparison between the reception Donald Trump received in the United Kingdom and the reality that many families are experiencing, even in the West itself today. And then there's the comparison with that absolutely, I think, infamous image of the elite's revelry, their constant enjoyment, compared to the absolutely harsh and brutal reality that the poor have to go through day after day. I repeat, for me, they're probably talking about the most controversial and contradictory event I have ever seen. I don't know, do you guys know how much? It catches my attention that they're constantly talking about Jesus, and on the other hand, they're being complicit. And I'm talking, of course, about the United States government, about an absolute barbarity, a real and true one in every sense of the word, that's happening right now in Palestine. It's something like a celebration in times of plague.